Howdy, everybody. Gotta get some water. Alright, so this is gonna be like a big topic, so that's why this is gonna be a stream sort of thing. I can't make enough jokes to put in a video that's gonna be this long. Maybe I could, but I don't want to right now. So, past, the present, and the future of Warhammer 4th Edition. Wait, please tell me that's what I named this. Okay, I did. Okay, cool. Alright. So, Cubicle 7. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay the 4th. Pretty fun game that we all know and love, but what am I doing? I'm like fucking bread tubing. No, okay. Alright, so I've got a little bit of, I don't know if this would be considered lecture or whatever, but I've got opinions, and I gotta share them. So let's just get into it. Obviously, there's a huge history of this game, dating back to the 80s. We're not talking about all that. That stuff's cool and fine, but we're gonna focus on 4th edition here. Comes out tail end of 2018. Pretty much just adventure books and stuff like that. This is the past, right? I've talked a lot about this in my Homebrew Hoedown, so I'm not going to get into too much detail here because I've already shared a bit on that. But a lot of what the beginning time here of Warhammer 4th Edition was kind of just setting the stones, but then they pivoted into kind of focusing on adapting Enemy Within from 1st Edition, which is totally cool and all. I haven't had the pleasure of playing the campaign yet, but, you know, it apparently takes 2 to 5 years to complete, and that's a big commitment, right? It's already hard enough it is to get a group. I think we all know. So, understandable and cool to kind of harken back, right? This is the revival. We're coming out of the card game era because for some reason Fantasy Flight wanted to do that, and some people liked it. Some people by the end of it said it was good, but I didn't have a good experience with that. That was not a Merry Christmas for me when I was like, I want 3rd edition, and then it was what it was, wasn't it? Now then, coming back from that, they're saying, you know, let's bring back the stuff that people love from 2nd edition, from 1st edition. Let's get this classic adventure. Let's rewrite it for the modern lore, because back then it was old Hammer lore. A lot of the stuff hadn't been established yet. But I think this was kind of a problem that they focused on Enemy Within campaign, because they were just releasing these and adventure books, and they weren't really doing much else. Buildings of the Reichland, kind of cool, but again, I don't want to get too bogged down in here, but there was a lot of focus on stuff that I think could have been better focused on other things. For example, D&D, let's go with that. They released, what do they release with every edition? 3 things. Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide. And you could say that the core book has, you know, all of those things, but really, the bestiary is lacking. The templates are lacking, which is, we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But it just wasn't enough, right? And so I think having splat books that add in more equipment, or even just touching up on the rules, because a lot of the core rules were not the best. Advantage, right? Like, that was a huge one people talked about back then. You could just, it first of all, it was individual, and second of all, things like Dart, like the magic spell, completely insane with that. Totally abusable. But, I'll talk more about that sort of stuff. I think that problem's kind of getting fixed, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we go through here, we go through 2020, 2019, 2018, 2021. Okay, so Enemy Within starts wrapping up, and views start kind of going further out. We get Archives 2, very big, and then we get 2022, which was one of the biggest years for Warhammer 4th Edition. 2022, they even have a thing here for it, watch. All the way down, it's their whole company, and that's gonna be a problem that we'll see in the future here. But, February, Imperial Zoo. And then it's just banger after banger. Up in Arms, boom. Winds of Magic, boom. Salzamund, City of Salt and Silver, boom. And Middenheim was also pretty good too, but that was, you know, we're not going to really talk about that one because it undermines my point. It makes me sound like a hack, so we're just going to gloss over that. Point being though, 2022, huge, very, very huge for the game. And I believe it ended with Archives 3. And Archives 3 was a very fascinating book. It made me very hopeful for the future of the game. We had these inklings of businesses, but they weren't done quite right. I really wanted to do a review on it at the time, but I decided against it. I wanted to see if it got a little bit more work done on it. And it did, but not to keep repeating myself, but just hold on, because we will get there. Alright, so, Archives 3, a lot of cool stuff. Very controversial book because of the channeling rules. They completely changed it. But, all in all, 2022, very banger of a year because Up in Arms sets up the equipment, the martial, mass combat, mounted combat, group advantage, siege equipment, which is something that 2nd edition shied away from. They said, you want to have cannons and mass battles? Why don't you buy our figurines and paint them, and buy our paints too, and enter our tournaments for Warhammer Fantasy Battle, which is cool and all. You know, I like mixed media matching up like that. Legend of the Five Rings, it had its whole lore as a role-playing game decided by the outcomes of card game tournaments, of the card game variety of the game. Very, very cool. However, I think in such a world as Warhammer, having the ability to gain that sort of power, because it is a more grounded system. People aren't going around with decks of many things, but having a boat or even a fleet with cannons, that's huge for a player, but that costs a lot. That's out of many players' grasp, but it's something to strive for, right? And this kind of gave more life to that with Up in Arms. Then you got Winds of Magic, which, my god, Wizards before, it was terrible. It was awful being a wizard before. It was so bad. You basically had no reason to cast anything other than Dart, one of your most beginning spells. And outside of that, it just didn't have anything for any of the Winds of Magic. You had Shadowmancers unable to sneak. You had Amber Wizards who couldn't handle animals. You had so much wrong with everything going on, and they added in all those classes, but they didn't just stop there. They added stuff for mundane alchemists. You can be a guy who goes around forging coins by, like, melting down the metals. They added so that you can make magnets or even balloons of lift gas, so you could make, in theory, if you got enough money and materials, you could make a freaking blimp. I just really enjoy that kind of player freedom, and that's what they needed in the beginning to gain that momentum, but it's fine now. Other than the fact that they locked away a couple core mechanics, like animal travel and stuff like that, behind Enemy Within books, which you have to buy them both, and it costs a bit more. If you're doing digital, if you're doing, at least with Foundry. If you're doing print, you can get it separate, it's not as big of a deal, but, man, they shouldn't have locked some of those rules away. There was one other book in 2022 I wanted to talk about. Oh, Imperial Zoo. Very, very huge. It was the... Actually, there's a few more. I've already talked about all of these. Most of them, at least. Imperial Zoo is very, very good. I need to do a review on this, but it is very good. Not only does it mix, like a loreful, like, telling of an adventure of people going through the lands, and... Maybe not this one. Alright? Maybe not that one. I think this one is fine. Alright. So, you got rules for hunting monsters, getting money, like meat from their pelts, as well as potions from them or magic items that you can craft from them. Both of those things crafted from them, kind of Monster Hunter-y, right? Which I like in a game. I like in fantasy when you have, like, I have, you know, Belt of Giant Strength or something that's made from giant leather. I don't know. But the idea of infusing a creature's, like, abilities into an equipment, that's cool. Everybody loves that. This is like I'm dying. This is like my funeral goodbye song. No. This is... I think this is gonna be fine for what we need. Yeah. Let me see the audio level here. I think that's fine, probably. Alright. So that's kind of like the past of Warhammer, right? We we got all that, and then 2023. This was a year that I had high hopes for. And though I was let down, thinking about it, things have made me pretty optimistic about it. In a way I haven't really seen before from other companies, ever. Well, maybe, but I just can't remember it. What I'm talking about is what they did at the end of the year. So the beginning of 2023, boom, Lustria, right out the gate in March. Everything was leading up to it. Big silence in preparation for it. Everybody understood. Everybody knew. Okay, Lustria is going to be a big book. It's been anticipated for decades. The people want it. And they got it. And it's good. I still need to put out that review, don't I? But everything in good time. Lustria is fantastic. But there were 8 months between that and Taverns, which is the last book of 2023. And in between there, you'd think there'd be a lot of books given their track record. I mean, looking at this, you'd think 2023 would have a lot of books, but no. Uber's Rex Adventures 3, Taverns of the Old World, Reichland Miscellanea, which is really not a new book. It's not a new book. It's like a bunch of these books all wrapped up. Monuments of the Reichland, Buildings of the Reichland, Patrons of the Old World, which these are all great books. But I get what they're doing, because it was like $2 for each of these, and they just bundled them all together. And it's Reichland Miscellanea. And they charge a little bit more for it. I don't really have much of an opinion on that. I think it might be a smart business move, honestly, because nobody wants to pick up a bunch of, like, cheap zines. Maybe they do. Maybe there is a thing for that, but I would assume there's not a market for that, given the fact that they bundled them all together. Now, wouldn't there be? So, it's a bit mixed there. But Lustria was good. And that's what I was really counting on. And I was let down a little bit that there weren't really many other books of big substance, flatbook-wise. Sea of Claws also came out that previous year, 2022, which, ooh, man, huge for boat rules and trade and all that stuff that players want to get up to. Some players, right? But what they did in 2023, which gives me hope for the whole future of this game, is they actually went back and they updated. Not just like errata, they actually updated the digital copies of the book. I think that might actually, now that's coming out of my mouth, I think that might be common practice these days for things like D&D. But I think if they continue to do things like this, we don't need a 4.5 edition. They can just update the core rulebook. I think if we can see this trend continue, we can watch them refine the game, get the rules better. But there is a problem. And here's where I kind of go back, because you see here they updated all these books. Archives 2, Archives 3, Up in Arms, Winds of Magic. This is huge. Missing a little thing here, right? That's the first red flag I saw when I was looking at all this. I was like, oh, why is there a bullet point with nothing? And even now, what is this, a month later? A month later. And a week. There's still nothing on that bullet point. Well, why does that matter? Who cares? Well, because it's not the only thing that was unfinished about all that. Look at this. They tore out the original Archives 3 channeling rules. I was about to make a goofy apology video saying, oh, you guys were right. I've run 26 sessions now with 2 wizards using the Archives 3 channeling. And I have to agree, it makes them way too powerful. But I don't even get to make that video now, because they changed it. And they didn't even do it in a cool way. And I'm going to actually have to call Cubicle 7 out here kind of hard. Because this is just lazy. And this is not okay. I'm a big fan of Cubicle 7. I really am, truly, from the bottom of my heart. But this is not okay. So what they did before, Archives 3, unique channeling, it was willpower bonus. And people said, oh, etheric attunement, it doesn't help you anymore because it doesn't give you the bonus. Well, you could just make it +1 SL. Easiest fix in the frickin' world. I don't know why people always say that. But there you have it. Just do it. Yes, they did. And here, I hope this will be a good example. I don't have a copy of the old PDF. Or I might, but I'd have to go digging for it. And I don't have that pulled up right now. But basically, before, it was this huge thing where you could get your willpower bonus, and if you critically casted, you could even then get your SLs or something like that in additional. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm totally getting turned around. That's the original. Anyway, point being, they just reverted to the Winds of Magic rules. So this whole section doesn't even matter. It's pointless for them to keep it here. It's literally just the Winds of Magic rules reiterated. They even say, we're just reiterating these now. They stop short of saying we've given up. They don't mention the old rules at all. Because there's a huge backlash. But I think they would have been fine if they had just tweaked some things. The laziest part about all of this, if you look here, this sentence cuts off midway. They didn't even fully copy-paste it. They didn't even bother to properly copy and paste the whole thing. Warpstone is a powerful fuel for magical energy, but it is not limitless. Keep track of how many CN of spellcasting a piece of Warpstone can supply before being entirely consumed. 1 gram of Warpstone... And this is how they're supposed to tell you how many CNs 1 gram provides. But hey, it doesn't say it here. The sentence just stops like the guy was grabbed by Candlejack. And that's not okay. Very lazy. As for what I would have done, I would have made it so it was more in line with the later versions of the Fantasy Flight 40k games, because they had things like pushing and fettered and unfettered, where the Psyker is releasing, like, you know, pushing their ability, and while that gives them more power, it also gives them a higher chance to miscast. So I would have loved to have seen this as optional rules that increase or guarantee a miscast, so you can push and you get your willpower bonus if you need power fast. But there needs to be that higher consequence. I liked the Chaos Dice thing from 2nd edition, where you would have an additional die rolled, and if you got doubles, then that was a miscast. And it didn't actually increase your spellcasting. Oh, we spooky now. It didn't increase your spellcasting roll, but it just was there to screw you over, and I think there needs to be more stuff like that. Yeah, there's a few changes, and there's one I actually do really enjoy out of Archives 3. They fixed the cost of businesses. Before, it was a mere 5 gold crowns to start up a knightly order, and only like 10 silver shillings to expand it into a wide estate. Now it's like 100 gold crowns for the first expansion. It's 50 gold crowns to set it up, and all the other businesses have their prices increased accordingly, and that is good. And I will also further say, just while we're on this topic with the money system, I'm probably going to do a whole video on this, but I think pretty much most people don't play with the banking system. Most people don't make you lose all the money at the end of the adventures. I think the community is a little split on that, but I think the majority don't play like that. So for these businesses, I think they're a nice way to just give passive income. Instead of you need to roll your income endeavor on it. It's a business, it's running itself anyways, right? So let it run in the background, roll some events for it, maybe tone it down, you know, if it goes crazy. But I'm not a big fan of nerfing players, you know? I think that's part of the fun, is when they kind of go off the rails in ways you didn't intend, and surprise you, right? So where does that bring us now today? Now that we're all caught up to, like, the present, right? They've done all these updates, some of them really cool, some of them not so cool. Oh, the armor system also got updated in Archives 3, and I don't know if I'm a fan of that or not. I should have taken a picture of it and put it here. But basically, what changes about it is now instead of being able to have, like, 5 all over your arms, legs, and bodies, you can have up to 6 on your body, but only 4 on your limbs. That's the change. And I think head has been nerfed. I think the most you can have on your head is either 3 or 4. So, there's that. Up in arms, I'll be honest, I didn't really see too much of a change. Oh, no, you know what? I think they did change, like, the swivel gun. Because the swivel gun was crazy. It was like bonkers. I think I even talked about that in Splatbook Breakdown. It might have been like a blink and you miss it text over the screen, but yeah, I know they fixed the swivel gun. They made, like, changed the ammo and stuff, so it's not, like, crazy powerful, I think, anymore. It's just like a blunderbuss now, but a big one. I still think what they need to do, though, while I'm here... Gosh, I'm getting so tied down in the weeds. While I'm here... Siege weapons and, like, structures, there needs to be, like, once you get to stone and above, or certain, like, hard wood, there needs to be, like, a trait that it can only be damaged by siege weapons and above, or you need to massively increase the damage, the base damage of cannons. And, like, sort that out, because, like, a small cannon... I think, actually, they did fix a little bit of that, now that I'm thinking about it. But before, there was, like, no reason, really, to pick anything but, like, small and medium cannons. And swivel guns were more powerful than, I think, a small cannon or a medium one. I can't remember. It was bonkers. A swivel gun, I don't know. I don't think that's going to be blowing holes in the side of a building, right? But a cannon would. And I guess, you know, you can say that comes down to DM, but, like, also, going back here, put a little effort in, right? It's a two-way street. I don't think I'm an entitled consumer for saying this, right? There should be, like, a basic level. And I'm not saying that none of this took effort. Obviously, they work hard. And there are oversights. I get that. But, you know, just always strive to do better. So where are we now? Where are we today? Well, I'm just gonna go here on the Reddit here. Because this is the easiest way to... This is also one of the only lists I found that's, like, complete. That I don't have to, like, watch a video to see, right? We can visually see it. We got a lot of announcements last year at Gen Con. A lot of announcements. A lot of very, very big announcements. That this right here, right now, I'm very, very hopeful for 4th edition. And I really, really, really hope that they do not get their license taken away like Fantasy Flight did. Before they can get these books out. Because Fantasy Flight planned, like, I think a Skaven book and a Dark Elf book, but they never got... I think they did get to the Skaven one. And they never got to the Dark Elf one. But we've got a lot of freaking, like, race books on the map. Starting with Orcs and Goblins, Tribes and Tribulations just came out. It's good. I've read it. I'm gonna put a review out on it. But I need to finish the book. But so far, it's good. You can't play as an orc. It doesn't give you rules for that. You could probably backwards engineer that. But they fixed the problem with the templates and stuff like that. Yes, you can still add the traits on, but they do give you, like, a general orc stat block that is satisfying. And then they even give, like, templates based on their role. And it's not just, like, 2 or 3 roles. There's, like, Skirmisher, like, Rider, Chief, War Chief, Shaman, Shaman Lord, Elite, that sort of thing. So you can kind of get the mix of content there with the orcs. They also have stuff on ogres because they have a similar society of nomadicism. So you get oh gosh, what are the mammoths called again? The Mournbacks? Something like that. The ogre mounts, they're statted. Boars, statted. Wolves, giant spiders, statted. There's a lot. Oh, Doom Divers, statted. Doom Divers are in the game. As are other orc artilleries, rock lavas, and such. There's a map which conveniently cuts off right before it gets to the north of Ostlin, which is where my campaign currently takes place. That shows tons of where greenskins are all across the Empire, except, you know, not where I need it to be. There's this really cool orca tribe. Hold on here. Oh, yes. They definitely do, Fred. They touch on orc magic Crud, I don't have an answer for you on whether it's casting or praying, but I do have an answer for you as to how much they touch on it. There's about 3 or 4 pages worth of spells, so think more like Winds of Magic in terms of giving them lots of spells. I want to say there's at least 20 spells. I kind of skimmed a bit, but I want to say there's at least 20 orc spells. There is, speaking of shamans, there's a whole tribe. I don't know if this is canon before Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay or not, but I just love it. Basically, there is a tribe of orcs in the Darklands where their leader, they were all enslaved by Chaos Dwarves, Chorfs, right? And they were all enslaved, and their leader at the time, he had a vision. I think he had like an aneurysm or like a lightning bolt hit him. I can't remember which. But he had a vision that Mork told him to like give a hammer to the human slaves and to free all of his own people. And so he tells another orc like, oh, give this hammer to those humans. And so the humans start breaking their people out, the orcs start breaking their people out, and they go different ways, right? He's like, yeah, they'll fend for themselves. But then they become this whole tribe that's just focused on messing with the Chaos Dwarves. All they do is, hold on here. All they do is mess with the Chaos Dwarves. They find wherever they have, like, slaves, and they free them. Doesn't matter who they are or whatever. They only, like, bring into the fold the orc slaves into their tribe and such. But they're freeing everybody out there. They're freeing dwarfs, they're freeing elves, they're freeing humans, they're freeing beastmen, they're freeing everybody. Because Mork gave the shaman a vision to do that. And I don't know, I think that's cool. It's also really funny, there's a blurb that the dwarves that come back from being saved are so ashamed that they just don't talk about it, or they immediately, like, swear Slayer oaths upon being able to, which just is hilarious to me. It's like, I'm not gonna admit I was saved by an orc. I need to die to atone for the shame on my ancestors for being too weak. I don't know. It's very flavorful. Their existence, I think, adds a lot of life to the setting in a way. Just because it brings back that kind of old Hammer sort of vibe and energy, the silliness of it. I don't know. I really like it. However, that's just, you know, we got that this month, January. So I'm very, very hopeful what we have next. We're talking about Ulthuan book. And so apparently it's going to feature high magic rules, guides on campaigning in Ulthuan, reclaiming and resettling Ulthuan. That all sounds really cool. It sounds like it's going to work highly in part with the Lustria high magic and colonization rules. Possibly even the Salzenmund mining and like job rules, or maybe the Archives 3 sort of job rules. Who knows? I don't know what synergy it's going to have, but I'm very excited to see. We have an elf in our party, so obviously that player's very excited too. But elves are things that really have been very mysterious in Warhammer for a very long time. And so to see a book coming out for them is very, very cool, I think, right? I'm excited. And not to mention, like, who doesn't want giant eagles and other sorts of interesting things like that? Because with that, we're also getting a Nagaroth book. Apparently, the president of the company really wants to make one, and it's a question of when, not if. Won't be this coming year, but they will make one. And that brings me to another point. 2024, I'm thinking we're going to at least see 2 more of these books out, I'm hoping. Dwarf book, which Runesmiths, runes, which we've only had a taste of. They've only given us little drips, little tiny tastes. But this is a deep dig into the dwarves. Apparently a whole Karak. I'm gonna guess it's probably Asgraz, but didn't we already get an updated one for 4th edition? So maybe, hopefully, we'll get a new one. I really hope. I would love to see one somewhere where we don't really get a lot set on. Because we've seen a lot of, I think, Grey Mountain holds. Let's get a World's Edge Mountain hold. I know they're not in the middle mountains anymore, but it might also be cool to see, like, a ruined one, right? Yeah, that's just because I have a campaign in Ostland / the Sea of Claws area. Come on, throw me a bone? No, but I'm also very, very hyped for Marienburg. The last one was in first edition. It's extremely old hammer full of half-elves and other such things, but it's a very, very good book. I've had to read it, because we have a player who's, we have two players who've a lot of history in Marienburg, so I think it'll be neat to have that sort of thing on hand. The old one is really, really neat, so I can't wait to see what they do to kind of update it a little bit, bring it up to speed. One of the books, though, that I think I'm most excited for, other than the dwarf book, because that's honestly like one of the big ones. Death Step Light Fingers. It's the rogue version of Up in Arms, basically. So Ranald, Tall, Priests, rules for both. So it's going to be a bit more probably like Sea of Claws, or in the way Archives 3 has those priest rules kind of tacked to the side. And I think that's just going to be the entirety of Priest. We are not getting a Tome of Salvation, so stop waiting for it if you are. That's just not how it's going to be. I don't know if I talked about this in another video, but the writing's on the wall. That's how they're going to cover it. And you can kind of see with Chaos, it's a similar thing. They want to do spread the rules out, perhaps. I think that's probably kind of how they're going to do it. Finally, we heard about a campaign that starts in the Empire and leaves it, which I think is really, really freaking cool. Oh my gosh, Barrack Var would be amazing, especially because that would possibly mean more boat rules, right? And then hopefully they loosen up about that, because Man of War was preventing that in 2nd edition. But it seems like Games Workshop has actually strangely loosened up. As much as they tightened the grip on other things, thankfully it looks like they've loosened up on their hang-up about, well, if they want to do that, why don't they play one of our other game lines? Well, let them roleplay, right? And it seems like they're allowing us now. So that I'm pretty happy and excited for. And that would just be so cool if we got Barrack Var, we got Dwarf submarines and dreadnoughts and ironclads. That'd be dope. Long Drawn Slayers. No doubt, no doubt. Not to mention, if they do end up doing like a Border Princes thing, it would work well there. Though I believe 2nd edition touched on that, so I don't think that's high on the table. One thing that's not announced, but I really want to see, is a Cathay book. I really want to see a Cathay book. That would be so cool. A Cathay book and even a Chorf book or something. Or maybe put the Chorfs in the Cathay book. I don't know. All I know is that I hope that Cubicle 7 maintains the license for a much longer time. We get to see what they have in store for us. Because I know people have got a lot of hot opinions, especially earlier in Cubicle 7's track record. But I think they've got a lot of potential if they can just crack down and really just ensure quality in their releases and put the effort in, the 110% effort. Not the, 95%. I think we've got a great future ahead of us for the game. I'm pretty optimistic for it. I think especially if they keep digitally patching these books and updating the rules, I think that's going to be incredible in and of itself as well. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on all of this. I think the game has the potential to have a very bright future. It's in that sort of same nesting space where 2nd edition was. I think it's finally found its footing, so to speak. And I think it's really just up from here. Hopefully maybe they fix the economy in Death Steps Light Fingers, right? I don't know. But I would imagine that'd be a great place for it. If you're going to be a thief, a rogue, you need a list of things to sell and how much they're worth. Now, in the meantime, you could always use a random loot generator. It's not the same. So, who knows? Who knows what we'll see. But I'm hoping for good things in the future. and I'm hoping for really, really cool things. A lot of the stuff from Gen Con sounded really cool. I recommend you guys check out the interview, the actual video. Obviously, we're not going to watch it here. I'm not a React streamer or tuber, right? I don't know. Maybe I could be, but I'm not right now. So, yeah. Highly recommend you guys check that out. I think everything's going to be cool, and yeah, that pretty much sums it up. If anybody has questions in here, I'd be happy to field them, but other than that, I'm probably going to head out of here. And while I wait for any of those, I'll touch on this as well. I think another reason why 2023 we didn't see a lot of books, frankly, look how many games they're balancing here. You only see like 4 here, but if you go to the shop, look at this. They are working on a lot of different game lines. Maybe their cup is a little too full. I don't know. I think it's dope that we're getting the things we're getting. I've got nothing to say on this stuff. Maybe one day I might. Who knows? But I am excited as hell for this. I've checked out the PDF. I'm very, very hopeful for Imperial Maledictum. Maybe you guys, maybe I'll start doing 40k stuff. But I gotta see more what it's in store, because while I really like almost everything about Imperial Maledictum of what I'm seeing so far, I don't like how the combat looks. The guns, the damage, I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. But I guess we will see in time how things go. Because everything looks so freaking cool about that game. You could be a criminal. You could be middle class in the Imperium. What? And we get to hear about that. Like, there's all these middle class opportunities. You could work your way all the way up from being like a slummy criminal ganger, all the way up to owning an entire spaceship. The possibilities of Imperium Maledictum look a lot more promising than Wrath and Glory. Oh. You think they're gonna do that? That would be cool if they made an old world variant. I think that would probably work better as a splat book rather than an entire game line. Because that's what Imperium Maledictum is trying to... It's like, it saw that there was like Rogue Trader, Black Crusade, Only War, Dark Heresy, Death Watch. And it's like, alright, we just need one book. We don't need a bunch of different cool rule books. We just need one. So hopefully, I would love to see an old world splat book. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. Thank you very much for all the love. Appreciate you appreciating me. And see you guys all in the next one, which will be hopefully soon. Turns out, getting a job doesn't mean you have more time to make videos. It means you have less. And I need to really just find some time to buckle down and get some videos out. Hopefully we'll see some stuff soon. I'm going to try to cut down taverns. I streamed my review of that. I'm going to try to cut it up, edit it up a little bit, get that out. Tribes and Tribulations, Lustria, the big video I've got, that is nearing completion, so I don't know when I'm going to put that out, but I'm probably going to sit on it until I put maybe like a review out or something like that. Yeah, maybe after I do the Tribes and Tribulations one or the Taverns one, I'll put it out. We'll see though. In the meantime, have a good one, you all. And don't forget, I got nothing. Oh wait, no, I got a train whistle. Oh yeah, but the microphone doesn't pick it up because of the filter.